So continuing on, whether this will be in a separate video, probably will actually, because it would just make sense. So continuing on, it just makes you question, and I was just talking about in the last video, whether people do things because they are being selfless or whether they are doing things for the benefit of themselves. That was Dr. Phil, I've been watching that. Just gives me some ideas. But I think it's nice to contain it into a video. I'd be like, I mean, obviously you can go watch Dr. Phil, would say go ahead. But at the same time, for people that just want it digestibly, I feel like I was going to put it in a video with lots of different videos I've seen in one video. Misogyny. When I noticed this a while ago, how the general concept of exploiting women, I think all of this type of ideas, they go together with, undoing or understanding how we evolved as a species over the last century or several centuries to create the society we're in and adapting to the new era we're in. For example, misogyny, I noticed this a while ago as a concept, and I feel like the world has become a lot more, you could say, PC, regulated. Sexism is a lot more taken a lot more seriously now than in 50 years ago, for example. It was legal to rape your wife 50 years ago, so that's great that we've come out of that thought. Every generation has its issue, of course, and thank God we don't live in that season now. But misogyny as an idea of explaining why people can conceptualize the exploitation of women, and the idea of misogyny, which I found quite amusing, was that apparently misogynists are actually scared of strong women because it sort of diminishes their feeling of competency or their feeling of manhood or whatever, and that's why misogynists, that's why they are how they are, in terms of misogyny, if you don't know, is where you think you're better than women and you're a male. Or I don't know if you can get female misogynists. That's probably not a misogynist. I'm not sure if you can get female misogynists. I don't know. But the idea is that men are better than women. Just as you can get toxic femininity, I probably leer on that level, but only because I get annoyed because... Or I don't know whether I think I'm just a strong woman, to be honest. I don't know if I'm a toxic woman. Maybe I veer more on that end than the misogyny end. So anyway, that's kind of an idea of, which has helped me debunk a lot of ideas of women have to have a certain standard, whether that be beauty standard or they have to, I'm not denying our genetics in that, women tend to have a higher level of estrogen, which, is what it is, and males have a higher level of testosterone, and, we were evolved as a species from the hunter-gatherer and the women to have the children, and that's how we're biologically constructed. I'm not trying to take away from that concept, but the level of equality and sort of entitlement that misogynists tend to have over women takes it to a different level, where it doesn't just talk about it, uses our biology, our natural biology, to make them have a step up, if that makes sense. So yeah, next thing I'm going to be talking about is the idea of complaining and how this can relate to covert narcissists. Apparently covert narcissists have this massive, because they're sort of it's very based around narcissists, this video, but also the thing about covert narcissists is that they are often covert in their narcissistic traits. So just as a grandiose narcissist, you might be more overt about how you go about life. You might be like, I'm the best, why are you, they might be even to the point of bullying, where it's like, why are you trying to be stupid or whatever and say something really stupid or insulting. Grandiose narcissists. Covert narcissists, they're more covert about the way they go about things. So therefore they might just complain in order to get their negativity into the world. They will complain incessantly about things, or they'll sort of walk around with the world owes me kind of attitude. And then they'll rage if you sort of take them out on this. Apparently if you comment on anyone's narcissistic traits, it will inflict rage. So it's not the fact that they cannot, it's the fact they complain, and in society we've sort of constructed this potentially idea of like Fridays are so rough. Like, I get it, in a 9 to 5 job, everyone likes a Friday so they can have a weekend. I get it. But having this overall mindset of like complaining about life, like, don't get me wrong, complaining has its place. Like, I've actually got a lot of, help, complaining is a part of life. We need to like deconstruct. Decompose and let out the negative energy. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I also feel, I mean, obviously you can use these things as a positive in society as well. Maybe covert narcissists, they help the fact that we're supposed to complain. But I would also bring up, because they complain so much, has there been a society of we shouldn't complain because that's just being silly, even when complaining is actually a healthy part of expending negative energy for people that don't use it as a way to be covert? So that's the other point. So yeah. And then the last one I think I'm going to be talking about is the fear of winning and losing, which also connects to this covert narcissist idea, which is that if you are a covert narcissist, you might sort of stay in the sort of, you might be very sort of like, you just might not go for the win and go and like feel like able to deal with the defeat. So you'll sort of like get this like middle ground thing going, but it might sort of like discourage people that actually are able to win and lose and have that sort of like grounded self that can handle that, to have a mediocre existence or be pressured into a mediocre existence, because people that are like this are so fragile, and sort of paranoid in ways that if they become, if someone calls them out, they will rage. If they, they'll become paranoid if and emotionally unregulated if they're sort of challenged, therefore are very fragile in state often. And I'll mention again, we're all on a spectrum. I'm on a spectrum of narcissism. I have my own narcissistic traits, of course, but I also have a level of empathy. Dr. Phil says that he has a level of empathy which he thinks levels out his narcissistic traits, and I would call myself definitely on the empath rather than the narcissist. But of course, I have narcissistic traits as well. Apparently, if you have borderline traits, you also have narcissistic traits. Just going to put that out there. But this idea of winning and losing, I think for me, like, I want to start a business, like, but if it's right for me, but then I've got to consider, have I got my own narcissistic traits which inhibit me from failure? Because I did get very discouraged starting my business, and going to a craft fair and not getting any sales. It discouraged me massively. So it's about considering for myself, am I even able to deal with a business because I have too high narcissistic traits? So there we go. I'm going to stop there because I feel like it could just go on forever. So thanks for listening. Bye.